tariffs on American goods for 90 days. The lone exception to Mr. Trump's tariff rollback is China. The levy on Chinese imports rises to 125%. The government's about to release its closely watched consumer price index this morning. It will tell the tale of inflation for the month of March. After postponing last evening's vote, House Republicans may vote today on a budget plan that would advance the Trump agenda. Some GOP deficit hawks have their doubts about the budget blueprint. Searchers still recovering bodies after the nightclub roof collapse in the Dominican Republic a couple of days ago. The death toll has climbed to 218. On Wall Street, Dow futures are down 480 points. More details, srnnews.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
Here is the latest news and information that impacts you. I'm Derek White. The Social Security Administration has been working to reduce its spending after the Trump administration's creation of the Department of Government Efficiency. Social Security has identified over $800 million in cuts for the current fiscal year, but it'll have little impact on the planned deficit of $110 billion built into the budget. In Topeka, the Kansas Department of Labor has teamed up with Geographic Solutions to design and build a website focused on improving career opportunities in Kansas. The site is called Today's Occupations, Tomorrow's Opportunities, or TOTO for short, in homage of Dorothy's dog in The Wizard of Oz. Users can find more information at the site toto.dol.ks.gov. This weekend in Goodland, the Spring Craft and Vendor Fair will be at Wheat Ridge Acres starting at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Bring your family and come find something for everyone. For more information on this and other stories, visit nwksradio.net.
Rocket 102.5.
This morning, temperatures are in the 30s with northwest breezes at 5 to 15 miles per hour. It will become windier later this afternoon with gusts upwards to 20 to 30 miles per hour. With a slightly cooler, dry air mass in place, we expect elevated fire concerns. There is a red flag warning in effect from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time for counties along and east of the Benkelman to Hoxie line. Otherwise, skies will be mostly sunny with highs in the upper 60s, and with winds diminishing this evening, and lows will drop into the mid to upper 30s. On Friday, an upper-level ridge will build out west and move over the area on Saturday. This will lead to unseasonably warm and dry condition with highs in the upper 70s on Friday, then into the upper 80s to low 90s, possibly breaking records on Saturday. South-southwesterly winds will be breezy at 15 to 25 miles per hour. This may lead to fire weather conditions. This meteorologist Chris Trummick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Get ready for powerful deals at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Right now, drive home a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max with 0.9% financing or up to $7,800 in purchase allowance. Step up in luxury in a 2025 Sierra 1500 Denali and get up to $5,250 in purchase allowance. Or take on any job with the 25 Sierra 2500 with 3.9% APR or up to $2,700 in purchase allowance. These offers won't last. Rush into Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
The time is now to register for summer GAC baseball, softball, and t-ball leagues. Registration deadline is April 21st at 8 p.m. You can register online at goodlandgac.com or stop by 808 Main. Please remember, we always need coaches for these leagues to happen, so let us know if you can give back of your time. Also coming up, April 27th, kindergarten through 8th grade, baseball, softball camp, $25 per camper. Camp registration's at 12:30. Camp begins at 1 and lasts till 3. Camps are at Centennial Park with GHS baseball and softball teams helping.
Goodland's Rocket 102.5 is your home for Goodland High School athletics. From touchdowns and three-pointers to home runs, Ross Volkmer has you covered with all the action. Join him for live broadcast on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, your front row seat to the Cowboys and Cowgirls. Select games video streamed on the Goodland Voice. GHS athletics this season are made possible in part by
Sherman County Community Foundation, the Black and Gold Booster Club, Goodland Regional Medical Center and Family Health Clinic, and the Insurance Agency.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the Insurance Agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Craving something delicious? McDonald's has you covered. From hot, fresh breakfast to juicy burgers and crispy fries, there's something for everyone, any time of day. And don't forget to try our classic McCafe coffee or refreshing McFlurry. Visit us in Colby, Goodland, Burlington, and Lamar for fast, friendly service and the flavors you love. Drive through, dine in, or order ahead on the McDonald's app. We'll have it fresh and ready. McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Spring is here, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has everything you need for the season. Get your lawn looking its best with Ultimate Fertilizer and power up with Ego blowers and mowers. Got a project? They got a surplus of lumber ready to go. Plus, fire up the fun with their selection of grills and griddles. Hoover's is also proud to sponsor the Pioneer 5K, 10K, half and full marathon supporting Colby Community College cross country on April 26th and remind you to sign up and participate. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out, I gotta compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guys everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Brumbaugh fakes the three, fires it from the corner. Yes!
To the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners in front. McLaughlin's got a first down inside the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Fly ball left field, going back on it is Eli White to the wall. It is gone! Into the first row, Trey Turner. He has given the Phils the lead. It is 4-3 here in the top of the ninth inning. His first home run of the year.
Alexander turns his back toward the hitter when he comes set, then delivers. 2-2 pitch is hit deep to right center field. Wynn might grab this. It does, and it is gone. It's into the Milwaukee bullpen. Rockies on the board. Ryan McMahon with his second home run this year.
The Spurs win the walk-off. The former Warrior buries a 3, and San Antonio wins the game. High drive to right. It is out of here. And we are going home.
We are going home. Actually, we're just getting things started here on a Thursday morning here on the Morning Blitz. Hey, happy April the 10th, everybody out there. Glad that you are joining us. Hope everyone's had a good start to the day. Another beautiful morning here on the high plains. 40 degrees and sunshine. Going to be a bit of a cooler day than yesterday. Yesterday, temperatures got into the mid-70s. Today, saying we're not even going to get into 70 degrees. The coolest day, I think, of the week. It's 67.
here coming up. So once again, still a good day. And I don't know, personally, if I can get some other stuff done in the office, I've got some things planned I need to get done outside the office, like at my house. So I've got I got a lot of things I want to hopefully get tackled today, and hopefully Mother Nature is going to roll with me on that. The only real negative, if you want to call it that, has just been the wind. It just will not let up. A little blustery yesterday, and I think we'll see some more of that wind here today. But once again, so glad that you're joining us here on the Morning Blitz. No matter if you are listening, of course, on Goodland's Rocket 1025 or on the app at nwksradio.net, or if you are tuned in on YouTube, Facebook, and X on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. So glad that you are with us here on this Thursday. Thoughts and comments always welcome on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter if you would like to chime in there. Or, of course, the FB Bank text line, 785-899-2222. You know, we're getting into, some of the days of, we're getting into kind of a slower time is what I would call it, a slower time in the sports world a little bit. Baseball, there's nothing wrong with baseball. It's great. But to me, I think it's difficult to break down baseball every single game because it's such a marathon. And so you kind of break it down at times throughout points and times in the season. And so, and then the NBA season is wrapping up, and our regular season at least is, and we'll get into playoffs here shortly. But yeah, the sporting world kind of slowing down just a little bit. We will, of course, I think it's next week or 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, we will have, of course, the NFL draft. So to an extent, slowing down a little bit. And as always, it's great to have those thoughts and comments and questions pop up on the text line and provide company here for an hour of this program. It is an exciting day, of course. So the 2025 Masters is currently underway there from Augusta. And Zach Johnson, through 3 holes with a couple of birdies, puts himself at 2 under par. As once again, they're just getting going. Got started around 5:40 Mountain, 6:40 Central Time with the first min off the tee. Multiple different guys tied up there at 1 under, including Danny Willett, Michael Kim, Mike Weir, Johnny Vegas, all at 1 under par at this point in time. But Zach Johnson currently on top with a 2 under par at this point in time. Bernhard Longer in his final Masters, he says, right now even through 1. But yes, and plenty more to get going here over the next few minutes there at the 2025 Masters. We'll talk more about the Masters coming up in our third segment today. We will get to that. Maybe some thoughts on who has the most pressure to win the Masters this year, and thoughts on maybe who will win. I think to me, it's pretty much impossible to pick a winner these days in golf because there's a lot of good play. Now it's gotten easy here as of late because of Scotty Scheffler, but almost seems like it's just too easy to pick Scotty at times. But we will get to that coming up here a little bit later on in the program and talk about the Masters a little bit. Our guest today, our good friend from Huskers 24/7 Sports, Michael Brunt's going to join us coming up in segment 2 about 15-20 minutes from now. Talk a little bit about Nebraska baseball, highlight the basketball team on their win at the Crown and what it's done in the portal at this point in time. And we will also touch base a little bit about spring football with Michael Bruntz, as he will join us coming up here at the bottom of the hour. We will talk a little bit about some news for the KU basketball player here in just a moment. Have a question for the listening audience when that comes around here in just a matter of seconds. Real quickly, a tough night last night for both the Royals and the Rockies. Royals shut out. I felt bad for our friend Max Kershaw. He went to the game. I texted him and said, boy, I sure hope that the beer tasted good because the game was not good. The Royals were held to 3 measly hits. They cannot solve Joe Ryan. He went 7 innings, 2 hits, 4 Ks. Here's a stat for you on Joe Ryan, Minnesota starter. Against the Royals, 7-0, a 1.30 ERA in 9 career starts there against Kansas City. So Joe Ryan knows how to pitch against the boys in blue pretty well. And once again, the Royals could not find a way to get anything going offensively. Minnesota had a couple of nice homers late in the 8th and the 9th inning. But yeah, just really no offense. One of the better threats for Kansas City came when Bobby Witt Jr. was able to get on, but then he got doubled off with Perez hitting a line drive out, and they doubled up Bobby over there at second base. So tough day at the office for the Royals, who lose 4-0 to the Twins and drop to 6-6. That series will conclude today. Game 4 of that Twins-Royals series will conclude today. That is at 12:10 Mountain, 1:10 Central Time. And as always, catch your Royals baseball on AM 790 KXXX. And if it was a tough night for the Royals, it was a tougher night for the Rockies, who not only couldn't score, but yesterday could not stop the Brewers, who absolutely bombarded the Rockies 17-2. I mean, guy, that's a score you see in high school ball. That's a score you see. You know, it's over after 3, 15 after 3, 10 after 5. That's a score the Rockies had. They had to play all 9 innings. And honestly, it was 10-2 when they went into the top of the 9th, and Milwaukee piled on 7 more runs in the top of the 9th. But it was not a good night at the office for the Rockies. In fact, some interesting numbers from that game. Rockies committed 4 errors in that loss. That is something they hadn't done in a game where they allowed 15-plus runs since 1999. Another ridiculous stat for you there. 4 errors, something they hadn't done in a game where they allowed 15-plus runs since 1999. So very, very, very bad night at the office for the Rockies. Antonio Senzatella went 4 1/3, gave up 8 earned runs on 8 hits. Did Senzatella, and 3 home runs hit by the Brewers. Jackson Chourio had a humongous day for the Brewers. 2 for 5, 3 runs scored, 5 RBIs. Honestly, if you look at the top four, Terang, Chourio, Yelich, and Contreras for the Brewers, they went a combined, let's see here, 2, 4, 6, 7. They had 7 hits. Let's see, 6, 10 runs, 7 hits, 10 runs, and a total of 10 RBI. Yesterday did the top order of Terang, Chourio, Yelich, and Contreras. Wow. That's a unbelievable top of the order there. But the Rockies once again did not help themselves with 4 defensive errors. Their lone highlight was a solo shot. Oh, sorry, that was yesterday. Their lone highlight was in the bottom of the 3rd. Ryan McMahon with a home run to center. That is about it. So Rockies are 2-9, and they will take on the Brewers again in that series finale. That is a 1:10 Mountain Time first pitch on AM 730 KLOE. Ryan Feltner on the bump for the Rockies. See if they can find a way to avoid a sweep at the hands of the Milwaukee Brewers. Okay, so there you go. A quick look at baseball, which was not good yesterday, to say the very least. I want to get into a question here in segment number 1. So stay here in segment number 1. So news came out yesterday that Darren Peterson, who is Kansas's top recruit here in the upcoming Kansas basketball's top recruit, I should say, in their 2025 class. Yesterday, it was announced that he is now the number 1 overall player in the high school class of, according to 24/7 Sports, the number 1 player, as he was phenomenal in the McDonald's All-American game last week. He was also good, I think, in the Chipotle. What is that called? Something about the Chipotle Classic or something along those lines. Chipotle Nationals is what it's called. He was phenomenal in both those games, and so because of that, he has vaulted to the number 1 spot. He was number 2, only behind future BYU player. I don't even know how I can say his name correctly. It's like AJ Dibansa or something like that. Dibansa. I don't even know how to say his last name. But Darren Peterson leaped him and now is the number 1 overall player. And so he joins the ranks of Andrew Wiggins and Josh Jackson as only number 1 recruits to ever sign with Kansas in the 24/7 Sports era since they started tracking all this. And so it's great news for Kansas. They've got the number 1 player in the nation coming into play. But my question that I have for listeners, and of course you can hit us up on the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222, or of course on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, YouTube, Facebook, and X. I want to know your thoughts. Is college basketball better with one and dones or not? Is it better with one and done players or not? Because I would assume that we're going to see Darren Peterson come to Kansas and he'll be done after 1 year, just like Josh Jackson was, and they'll be one and done and moving on. Is it better? Is college basketball better with one and dones or not? So for those who are wanting, because the question I had was like, well, who have been some one and dones? Well, I'll go through some one and done college basketball players. Now, of course, it's all changed. It used to be where if you went to college, you could be one and done. It used to be where you could skip, of course, before, around LeBron's time of coming, you could skip high or college and go directly into the professional game. And then just after that, of course, it changed and prevented players from going and being one and dones. But I was looking at this. So here's a list of players that were one and done. Anthony Davis at Kentucky. Carmelo Anthony won a national title with Syracuse back at about 2001. Chris Bosh went to Georgia Tech and was one and done. John Wall went to Kentucky and one and done. Eric Bledsoe one and done at Kentucky. Zion Williamson at Duke. Kevin Durant went to Texas and was one and done. DeMarcus Cousins at Kentucky. Derrick Rose at Memphis. Karl Anthony Towns. The cat was a one and done. I believe it was at Kentucky, I believe. Lonzo Ball, UCLA. Kevin Love, UCLA. Michael Beasley, of course, of Kansas State. Greg Oden at Ohio State was a one and done. Ben Simmons went to LSU. RJ Barrett went to Duke. Those are a few of the one and dones players that I was able to dig up here this morning and just kind of go with that. And my question is college basketball better with the one and dones, or would you have preferred we go back in time and we see people come in and sit there and play for, they come there and they're there for, their 3 years or something like that, which once again, we're in a completely different time now because of the transfer portal era. People are coming and they're changing their teams, every season. And you see guys that are playing for 4 different schools in a 4-year span. You're seeing that right now in college athletics, particularly in college basketball. Once again, I go back to that point. I remember driving home from and listening to a radio broadcast from Westwood One in the tournament a couple of years ago, and they were talking about this guy. He went to the foul line, and they're just like, well, this is just what it is. And this guy, he started out his career at this school, and then he went here, and now he's over here, and now he's come here. And look, I remember the one and done rule when I was growing up, and honestly, I was more of a fan of it. I was more a fan of the rule, of course. If you wanted to go pro, just go. If you wanted to go professional, just go. You don't have to come to college for a year to whatever. I mean, because I remember watching this documentary of Ben Simmons, is who it was at LSU in his time. Ben Simmons went to LSU for a year just because he had to. And he didn't do pretty much any sort of school, didn't do anything like that. He just was there to play basketball. And as soon as his season was done, he was ready. He was getting ready for the draft and was going to get drafted. And if you don't have an interest of being there, why are you going there? That's something that I question. If you don't have an interest in being there, why are you going there? And the reason why now is because the NBA don't allow certain players a certain age to get in. They put that wall up there. And I think that's just silly. But at the same time now, I think you're going to see, it's going to continue to be one and dones if they're very, very talented, like a Cooper Flagg, for example, and some other great players that we've saw this year in college basketball. There'll be one and done guys that move on. So the question really, in answering the question that I present to the audience there, is college basketball better with one and dones or not? It is probably better. It's a better product. It simply is. You're getting the most talented players to come and play for just a season. I remember watching, Cooper Flagg is a great example. A few years ago at Duke, Zion Williamson was another great example of just an absolute freak where you're like, yeah, that guy could play at the NBA right now. So the product is better with one and dones. There's no doubt it's a better looking product. I don't know if I don't exactly love it, but of course I don't love the way that college athletics is right now. I don't love the free range of players moving around and going wherever they want, anytime they want. I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that players can go to a school, be there for a year, not even a year, pick up and move and go to a different school, heck, even in the same conference, and play against their former team if they choose to do so. I do not like it that much. I preferred the old days where, once again, you went out, you recruited a player, you brought him in, she brought him or her in, and they were there for, 3-4 years developing and getting better. Yeah, they might have played as a freshman. They might have not played as freshman. They might have redshirted. And then they were able to work their way up and continue to get better. And you got to know these teams. You got to know these players. I mean, it's just like high school ball. You got to know the kids that started out and played, and you got to see them develop, through junior high, and then they get to high school, and then they're playing JV for a year or two, and then they get to varsity and they're playing more, and they're having bigger roles. I like that. And I miss that about college. I miss that about college basketball in particular. You don't really know anybody. I mean, you're lucky if you can keep 1 or 2 players around every single year that you've had from the previous year. And rarely are you going to have a guy that sticks around for 2+ years at the same institution. You're rarely going to see that. And so every year you're finding out, hey, we've got these new pieces that we've got to put together with a few of these old pieces, and not building. And it's hard to build that chemistry. And that's why I think we see like the struggles that we've seen at times at Kansas State, where you might get these talented pieces in and out of the portal, but you have no chemistry with the rest of the team because these guys either have all come from the portal and never played with each other, or they've never, or they don't gel with the guys that have hung around. It's just so hard. And so college basketball, yes, better probably with one and dones as a product, as its entirety and entertainment value. I'm just not a humongous fan. I just miss the days of teams being developed over the course of time. Like, for an example, there was a basketball player with my Nebraska Cornhuskers with a red shirt. He was redshirting this year, and I was super excited to see him play, but he never did. He never went. He never got into the game. He never got in. He was going to redshirt, is what I decided. Well, I was hoping to see him this coming year, but he's in the portal. He's going on somewhere else. And that's just, to me, it's a sad, sad deal, a very, very sad deal. And that's what I do not like about that one bit. Michael chimes in on our F&B Bank text line, 785-899-2222. He goes, I wish it was like when Coach Williams was at the Fog for KO, and we got to see freshmen come in, see them mature into studs, and by the time they were seniors, when they walked on the floor for senior, you could feel the emotion because you've seen them grow. I miss it. I agree, Michael. I'm with you 100%. I miss it as well. I think about guys now who, if they get, they can go and play, and they could end up having like 2 or 3 senior nights, and where they hand out, a uniform to a guy, they have a uniform in case thing, there's guys that could roll up, 2 to 3 college uniforms with how the rules have kind of been bent here. And have been allowed to happen over the last few years. I'm with you 100%, Michael. I miss those days where you got to see those players come and develop. Think about the great players that developed at KU, Frank Mason or Devontae Graham. Those are some phenomenal players that, you can even go back further, the Kirk Heinrichs and the Nick Collisons and Perry Ellis, who was here forever. There so many great players you got to see come in, kind of start out as maybe a role guy, develop into, a leader, and then developing maybe into a superstar player. And you don't see that anymore. You don't really see that anymore across college athletics, and it's very sad, particularly in college basketball. And I don't know if it's ever going to get back or get the rules put up to, wow, it's going to limit that, and we're going to see teams kind of stabilize a little bit more. I don't know. I would hate it as a coach. I know I would hate it. I know I would absolutely hate it every single year, having to go out and restock the roster and then have to try and get these guys to play together, learn your system and learn the ins and outs of it and get along with new players and learn how to play with these new players for pretty much just for one season. Then we have to do it all over again. That's the hard part. And there's a lot of programs out there that are starting over from scratch. Oklahoma and Porter Mosher didn't go anywhere. He'll have a completely new roster next year. Everybody from Oklahoma is in the portal. Every single player. They made the tournament, by the way. They lost in the first round to UConn, but they made the tournament, did Oklahoma. And guess what? Every single player in the portal. You're starting over from scratch. I cannot imagine being a coach and trying to do that. That would be super, super hard. And so I don't know. It's a give and take deal. Like I said, I would love to see Darren Peterson, and going back to our original question, I'd love to see Darren Peterson now the number one player. I'd love to see him come and be at college for 2-3 years. That'd be great to see him develop and have a little bit of a history there with Kansas. But it'll just be one season. It'll be done. He'll move on to the NBA, so on and so forth. But the problem is, it's not just great players now that are doing it. It's not just Carmelo coming in or Karl Anthony Towns or, Lonzo Ball that are just coming in for 1 year and then leaving. No, it's everybody is coming in for a year and then leaving, whether it's to go to the NBA or to go to a different school. It's college basketball has become one and done at every single institution. One and done, on to the next school. And that's the sad thing. So I miss those days. I miss those days with college, having those players come in, develop, see them all play together, and then you graduate, and then you have to you build from the back with freshman classes and things of that sort, and maybe a transfer guy every now and then, but not a whole new team every single year. So, but on the bright spot, once again, Darren Peterson, Kansas basketball signee, the number one player now in the nation, according to 24/7 Sports, and a lot of super high expectations for him going into his freshman season there at the Phog. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Plenty more to get to here on a Thursday show on the Morning Blitz. As always, FNB Bank text line open, 785-899-2222. Up next, our good friend Michael Bruntz will join us from Huskers 247 Sports. That's next here on a Thursday edition of the Morning Blitz.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Lansing Trade Group is unavailable for markets this morning. They'll be back with the midday markets today. Here's how markets closed yesterday.
May corn finished higher 5 cents at $4.74. July at 5 3/4 to $4.80 1/2. September up 3 3/4 at $4.42 1/2. December up 5 cents at $4.50 3/4. May soybeans at 20 cents at $10.12 3/4. July up 19 1/2 at $10.23 1/2. August up 19 3/4 at $10.16 1/2. September up 19 3/4 at $9.95 3/4. Chicago wheat, the May contract higher 2 1/4 at $5.42 1/4. July up 1 3/4 at $5.55 3/4. September up a cent at $5.69 3/4. December up a cent at $5.91 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the May contract finished higher 6 1/2 today at $5.68. July up 5 1/4 at $5.80 1/4. September up 4 1/2 at $5.94 1/4. December up 4 3/4 at $6.16 1/4. On the cattle side of things today, live cattle higher at $3.70 a hundredweight at $202.80. Feeders up $3.32 at $283.75. Lean hogs down 85 cents at $86.97. On the stock market today, the Dow up $35 at 37,897. The S&P up $10 at 5,030. Gold higher $109 an ounce at $3,099. Crude oil down $2.24 a barrel at $57.34. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hanke or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Pluto, Jared Law, or Tyler Doach at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Today, we're talking with Zach Ogles, agronomy manager from Tessenderlo Curley. Zach, how can Thiosol and KTS improve outcomes for wheat growers?
When they apply a product like one of our thiosulfates, they're not only going to be receiving the sulfur benefit, they're going to be protecting the nitrogen that they're applying along with it. We can help a grower reduce losses through nitrate leaching. We're helping to protect the groundwater, improving the well water quality, while keeping most of that nitrogen available to the plant.
Ask your local ag retailer for Thiosol and KTS.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game. Outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Spring is here, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has everything you need for the season. Get your lawn looking its best with Ultimate Fertilizer and power up with Ego blowers and mowers. Got a project? They got a surplus of lumber ready to go. Plus, fire up the fun with their selection of grills and griddles. Hoover's is also proud to sponsor the Pioneer 5K, 10K, half, and full marathon supporting Colby Community College cross country on April 26th and remind you to sign up and participate. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring.
It's not just sports, it's your morning game plan.
I don't even believe you have a plan. I have part of a plan. That is not a plan.
This is the Morning Blitz.
Don't forget, of course, a week from tomorrow, April 18th, starting at 7:30 Mountain Time, I believe, 8:30 Central. It will be, of course, our NWKS radio auction. Going to be a super, super full day. And so make sure that you text the word auction to our text line to find to get more information on how to get be a part of that. We will have the sale bill out early next week. Let people be able to scowl through that and say, hey, I want to bid on that or attempt to bid on that. We got a lot of neat items. There's some, of course, all the great fun ones, whether it be, maybe some smaller ones or, the great gift cards that we have and get from our great businesses. There's some new stuff in there as well. Some really unique stuff, anything for farmers or households. It's really, really neat. So you can go to our website, nwksradio.net. That's nwksradio.net today. There is a link on the front page that you can click, and that'll take you to a list of items or, pages and pages of items that you can see pictures and information on if you'd like to see what is already in there. There's stuff getting added to that every single day. Christina does a great job keeping that up to date. Before we get to Michael Brunt's Husker 24/7 Sports, Brian chiming in on the F&B Bank text line, 785-899-2222. He goes, totally agree with you, Ross. College is now more like pro. It's all about the money now. Used to be that colleges were playing for the game and the thrill of winning, and that's what made it better than pro, but no more. That's right. There's the thing. Whether you want to admit or not, kids were getting paid in a way in the previous system. They were getting a complete free four-year education. And not to mention, not only free education, probably housing, help with housing, food plans, not to mention, books and tuition, all that stuff. That was completely paid for. They were going to college for free. And that was the trade-off there. And not to mention, on top of that, you were getting some of the best treatment, probably, with the athletic department, with your training staff and things of that sort. Not only, for injuries and things of that sort, getting some of the best you could ever get. And there was no money out of your pocket. It was all on, of course, the university's dime. Now that's not enough anymore. Now you have to have the money to pay the players as well. And I'm not saying that I don't believe that players should be getting paid. I don't have a problem with NIL. Name, image, likeness to me is not a problem. To me, because NIL is where if you're an athlete or a player and you have a business that wants to come up to you like Pizza Hut and says, hey, we want you to be a sponsor for us here locally. We will pay you a certain amount of money to do that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. That player earned the right to do that because of their prowess or their knowledge of whatever. They earned that right to get that money. Now it's pay for play. How much can a university offer a player to come and play at their university? It is pay for play, not name, image, likeness. That's the problem. That is the biggest problem. All right, let's change gears here. Lighten up the mood. Let's welcome in our good friend from Huskers 24/7 Sports, that being Michael Bruntz, who joins us now on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. Michael, thanks again for joining us. How things are going?
No complaints, Ross. How you been?
Probably not as busy as you. This is probably at least maybe the last couple of weeks, probably some of the busiest times of the year for you.
A lot of overlap. And then I don't do much basketball anymore, thankfully. So the college basketball crown added a little bit more going on too with spring ball and baseball, but being busy is not a problem. Never a bad thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's start with the positives. Tuesday night, Nebraska baseball, a win over a 22nd ranked, very good Kansas team on the road. How much does that win help this Husker team that has struggled here early on this season? Or is the baseball team dug too much of a hole at this point in time to try and dig out of it?
Yeah, they're a tough team to kind of make heads or tails of right now. I mean, you know, last week you dropped midweeks to Creighton and Omaha and you know, don't look very competitive in those games. And then, you know, you go on the road and you know, use 10 pitchers in basically a bullpen game and shut down a really good Kansas offense. That's kind of been the herky-jerky nature of this season for Nebraska at this point. You know, that was their fourth win over a ranked team this season. And, you know, they've struggled at other times to just kind of string together consistent offense. So, you know, right now you're right around the midpoint of the season. You know, you're kind of starting to RPI watch a little bit more, but, you know, Nebraska is coming off a couple weeks ago of a series win at home over a number 5 Oregon State team, which, you know, that launched them up the RPI rankings. They climbed almost 40 spots that weekend. They went up 20 spots after beating Kansas, and there's still, you know, some work to do in conference with just making the Big Ten tournament. But it's going to be one of those teams where, you know, the record doesn't necessarily reflect what they've done RPI wise, because they've scheduled really, really tough. They're a top 25 strength of schedule this year. So, you know, they're just going to need to play a little bit more consistent baseball. They're starting to hit a little bit more recently, which I think is a positive sign. And, you know, they just need guys to throw strikes on the mound. So it's really kind of a tough team to wrap your arms around. It's kind of feels like there's almost no floor right now. And there's also no ceiling either. So, like I said, just kind of a tough team to kind of figure out what they are, and we're halfway through the year right now.
How much of an impact or how much of a surprise, I guess, do you think it's been for that coaching staff to that the pitching depth is definitely not there? And how much of an impact losing Mason McConaughey, their ace, did that have on kind of the mentality of the team, you think, to this point in time?
Yeah, it's kind of a cause and effect thing with McConaughey, because you kind of had to move everybody, you know, one seat to the left on the weekends. And, you know, you have to at least acknowledge that Will Walsh has been very good and very competitive taking on that Friday night role. And I mean, if you can just kind of imagine, like, let's say you get Mason McConaughey, even last year's version, on Friday night, you get a fairly competitive Walsh on Saturdays. I mean, you can kind of piece together Sundays. So, I mean, it's kind of, you know, new guys figuring out new roles. And you know, one of the big kind of challenges for Nebraska this year is they just have not gotten good enough starts on Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, they've only had a start on Saturday or Sunday go at least 5 innings 3 times on the year. So it's kind of taxed the bullpen. You've had, you know, younger guys that are kind of into higher leverage situations that maybe, you know, you wouldn't have them in until later in the year, or maybe next year. So that's been a challenge. I think, you know, the bullpen numbers, I guess you could make the case that they've been overworked. I think you could also say that, you know, guys just have not thrown strikes well enough. You look at this roster last year, you know, it was a 3-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which is kind of what, you know, Rob Childress wants. And this year it's been, you know, barely 2-to-1. So it's been a little bit of a challenge that way too. I mean, you know, last night I was actually pretty impressed with the way they kind of passed the bucket against Kansas's lineup, but they're going to need a lot more of that because, you know, it's just been such a struggle on Saturdays and Sundays to stay in there and be competitive. And until recently, the offense hasn't hit enough to kind of make up for the shortcomings they've had on the mound.
Well, the offense has certainly found something here over the last couple of weeks. You think they can maintain that pace?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're starting to see, you know, the veterans that I think you would kind of hoped would be, bell cows for you are hitting a little bit more. I mean, Max Butenbach is on a tear right now. Tyler Stone's hitting better. And the other thing that I think has kind of helped him too, through the first 24 games of the year, they used 23 different lineups. And, over the last couple of weeks, I think they've settled on, 9-10 guys that are kind of their core group that they can write on a lineup card and feel pretty good about. And I think you're starting to see a little bit more of, kind of what you would expect more out of a traditional Will Bolt offense. It's a mix of the slugging. You've got some of the bunting and moving guys and trying to force the issue on the base paths. And I think some of that was kind of missing in the early portion of the season. So, you know how it is, Ross. Up here, you get home a little bit starting in March. The bats kind of warm up as the temperatures warm up. So, and I think too, with the way the schedule kind of sets up for Nebraska on the back end in the Big Ten, they're going to have some opportunities to score some runs. So we'll see if they can kind of take advantage of that. But it's been, I think, a pretty nice turnaround for this team given where they were. I mean, they were, going to California for that long road trip in the middle of March, and they were hitting right around 240 as a team, which is kind of unbelievable.
Well, hopefully they can keep this pace, because I'm telling you, that was a very disappointing first half of the season, I think, considering what they brought back, and they've kind of put themselves back against the wall. If they're going to try and make the postseason, they're going to have to win a lot of baseball games here down the stretch. Michael Brunt's our guest here from Huskers 24/7 Sports, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. I know you don't cover basketball, but what was it like watching the Crown from your perspective and seeing Nebraska win the first ever Crown and becoming a basketball team that won a midseason tournament and a postseason tournament, but did not make their own conference tournament?
Yeah, no, it was a nice finish to the season. I mean, it was a little bit of kind of mixed feelings, right? I mean, you feel good about the fact that you went to Vegas and played 4 good games of basketball and beat, I thought that Boise State team was a really good team from what I'd seen from them during the course of the season, and probably should have been in the NCAA tournament. But, it's a nice send-off for Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary and the seniors that had transferred in. But, it's kind of difficult to not kind of play the what-if game. I mean, if you would have played that way, for 10 days in February, you're probably in the NCAA tournament and not, playing in Vegas for the Crown. But, positive end of the season. I think that's kind of the takeaway from it. I've been asked, well, are you able to roll over any kind of momentum in the next season? I mean, I guess a little bit, but, when you're in Vegas playing in that tournament, you've already secured some commitments out of the transfer portal, and you're already building that roster for next season. And that's kind of what the focus quickly turns to the second you get back on that plane to head back to Lincoln. So it was a good, I think a good capper to the year, but, Nebraska's already, turned its attention to what the roster is going to look like next season. And another kind of overhaul with what they had. I mean, partially because of, the fact that you had a ton of seniors on that team, but also, that's just kind of the nature of college basketball now.
Michael Brunt's our guest, Huskers 24/7 Sports. How does Fred carry that momentum from winning that thing into this offseason, trying to rebuild his roster? And he's done pretty well of it so far. I think to this date, I think he's gotten in 3 to 4 pieces that weren't on the team last year. But he has lost some guys, Gavin Griffiths, which I think is not a surprise. Nick Janowski leaving was a disappointing thing for me. I would love to see him play some. But how do you feel like Fred carries that momentum from that victory at the Crown to try and build for next year, which is hopefully a tournament run?
Yeah, no, I think, you've got some pieces that you can build around. I mean, I think the big thing for Nebraska, you got to get a point guard. It's such a premium position. I think you've seen, the lack of kind of a difference maker at that spot and being able to kind of create for the offense. I think that was one of their issues last season. And you didn't necessarily have the big on the floor either that you could kind of run the offense to, like Rink Master or Derek Walker. So, that's to me, that's kind of the top of the want list as they kind of get into this portal cycle. And, I think it's always kind of interesting. I mean, Fred's been at Nebraska for a number of years now. I think you've probably learned quite a few lessons of what works and what doesn't in terms of, having success in the Big Ten and kind of making the personalities and things like that come together too. Cause I think that's a big piece of it. as well as you're pulling guys out of the portal. Is, you know, like what does this kind of look like? You know, not only on the floor but also in the locker room as well. So, you know, I think that's just kind of the thing is just finding guys that fit. I think it's, you know, Nebraska being a little bit more dedicated with the NIL stuff. It's you know, I think being a little bit aggressive. I mean, I don't know how many players kind of had their eyes glued to the crown, but I mean, maybe it's something you can sell a little bit on the recruiting trail as well. So, you know, we'll see kind of how the pieces fall, but I do think Nebraska has a few needs that they really need to check out of the portal. And like I said, I mean, I think point guard's the top of that list for me.
Michael Bruntz is our guest, Husker 24/7 Sports on the Hoover Lumber's Hardware Hotline. Before I let you go, I wanted to get some thoughts on spring football. That's a big thing up there in Nebraska. What have been a couple of your biggest takeaways from your ability to watch a little bit of practice, to visit with the coaches? What have been a few of your biggest takeaways, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's been, you know, the kind of a workman-like attitude with this team. I mean, I think it's been relatively quiet. I think I don't know if part of that is not having a spring game at the end of all this to kind of get a chance to see what this actually looks like. But you know, it's a veteran team in a lot of spots, and you know, I think you're starting to see a little bit of the depth that Matt Rule had kind of hoped to build up at certain spots. I mean, you know, the offensive line, you know, you've got 3 or 4 guys that have played a lot of snaps for you that are limited or out this spring. And I still think that right now you've got 7 or 8 guys that you would probably feel comfortable putting in a game and playing major snaps. You know, I think from what I've been able to see in practices, you've seen a little bit more leadership and vocal leadership from Dylan Raiola going into his sophomore season. I mean, this is clearly his team and his offense. And, you know, the defense is going to be interesting. They've got a lot of moving pieces on that side of the ball. You lose Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmaker, which I think, you know, Nebraska is going to have to really kind of game plan around and you know, maybe find somebody that kind of steps up and plays unexpected snaps to replace those guys. So, you know, those are a couple of the takeaways. I mean, it's spring balls like that everywhere. Everybody's in their best shape, you know, excited about what the year brings. But, you know, I do think that at least offensively, you know, that there's definitely some room for this group to take a step forward. And it feels like they're at least starting to lay the steps to do that.
You know, going into spring ball, Michael, everyone that follows the program knew that Matt Rule had kind of had to retool the staff. How do you feel like these older, more experienced assistant coaches have handled taking over this spot that they now have at Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, you basically have 3 new coordinators, you know, across the board there, and it's interesting when you kind of compare this year's staff with the one that Rule initially brought in. I mean, it's significantly more veteran. Because of the NCAA rule allowing more, you know, unlimited staffers and assistant coaches, you've also been able to bring in guys like Phil Snow, who's an associate head coach, but is also just kind of a walk around type, you know, de facto defensive coordinator for, you know, lack of a better term. I mean, it's obviously John Butler's defense, but when you've got a veteran defensive coordinator like Phil Snow working with the early enrollees and younger guys in the program, I think there's a tremendous benefit to that. You've got, you know, Addison Williams coaching defensive backs who has coordinator experience. And, you know, I think across the board, they've upgraded the staff. Mike Eckler, obviously, the success that he had at Tennessee speaks for itself and at other stops too. So it's you know, I think there's still a little bit of kind of trying to figure out how all this is going to work together and how guys function and things like that. But I do think, you know, when you're at practice and you kind of see how guys are working, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that they've upgraded from where they were the first couple of years as a staff. I mean, I just, you know, when you have Dana Holgerson not having to go out and recruit and just sitting there game planning nonstop the entire offseason, you know, that's a tremendous advantage for Nebraska.
No doubt about it. Michael Bruntz, once again, our guest in the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. A couple more quick ones for you. What are just your personal thoughts on no spring game this year and kind of the protectiveness that Matt Rule has had about keeping his players off the radar?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this event's going to be like on the 26th. I mean, I think there's value, certainly from the media and the fans' perspective, of kind of getting to see the team a little bit, at least in the first half of the spring game. I mean, it'll be a little bit disappointing to not have that as kind of a nice wrap up of spring ball. I also get it. I mean, with the 105 roster coming and wanting to protect your guys a little bit. I mean, that's just kind of the world we live in now, unfortunately. So, we'll see what the 26th looks like. I mean, they've got the 7-on-7 stuff. They're going to do some other things in the stadium, but it's not going to be the same. I mean, I don't know that there's anything that they could do that would kind of, get close to what a spring game was like in Nebraska. So, I'm kind of eager to see, I guess, going forward if it comes back in some form or fashion, but I think it will be a little bit odd to get to, the end of spring practice and then you're just kind of done, you know what I mean? There's just no, it's almost like a sentence with no period on the end of it.
No, this is very true. I'll be fascinated to see if something gets approved in the coming years with teams going to other teams and doing home and home type things. We'll see if that happens. You have to be excited, though, for the yard sale, though, right? The yard sale. I would be pumped for it if I could get there in time.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably going to be the most popular thing of the whole weekend. I mean, yeah. I remember back, they used to do them pretty regularly with not much fanfare back in it was when I was in college, so it was ages ago, but you'd go and you'd be able to get like a game worn basketball jersey and stuff like that for like $10. Like it was, I always got a kick out of it. One of my roommates in college had a Kamani Friend game worn jersey, and Kamani Friend, I mean, he was like 6'10", and my roommate was closer to about 5'9". So it didn't fit well, but it was always a nice little conversation piece. So maybe someone will get lucky and get some of that stuff. But I mean, it's everything. It's like cleats. It's old jerseys. I'm curious to see what's there and what the prices look like. I'm with you. That's probably what I'm most curious about, how that's going to work out.
You and a lot of other Husker fans, I would agree. That would be the thing I'd be the most excited about from that spring weekend. By the way, the Kamani Fringers had to look really good at the prom on your 5'9" friend. That had to look really good, going to a formal.
Yeah, it was. You only bust that out for special dates, I think.
That's exactly right. Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7 Sports. Michael, thank you so much for the time, my friend. Have a great rest of your week.
No problem, Ross. Take care.
Great stuff there from Michael Bruntz. All right, let's get to our final break. Back to wrap things up with the walk-off next.
Get ready for powerful deals at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Right now, drive home a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 Turbo Max with 0.9% financing or up to $7,800 in purchase allowance. Step up in luxury in a 2025 Sierra 1500 Denali and get up to $5,250 in purchase allowance. Or take on any job with the 25 Sierra 2500 with 3.9% APR or up to $2,700 in purchase allowance. These offers won't last. Rush into Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
High drive, deep left, grand slam! And back lifts his ball deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Wrapping things up, a little bit of thoughts on the Masters. Once again, 4 guys tied at 2 under par, but the only person that people would know would be Zach Johnson through 6 at 2 under par. You know, I think a lot of people, of course, would go with Scotty Scheffler to being probably the favorite of that. He's won it twice. Could it be 3 times? Really cement himself in Master lore. Today, Rory McIlroy, I think, really is a guy that you got to look out for. He's won 2 events here in 2025. I always like to look at guys who have played well as of late, because usually that momentum carries into the Masters. And so if you look back at like some winners here recently, like I like Rory McIlroy, I like Victor Hovland. I always feel like he's been a great player that has a chance. One player that I know a lot of people are going to be excited to see and I think has a good chance is Ludwig Oberg. Could be a big piece there. Colin Morikawa, a popular pick as well for this year's edition of the Masters. Once again, that'll be live coverage on the Masters app and website right now. They'll have full coverage later today on ESPN and then CBS throughout the weekend. Local sports, Colby Community College softball, 2 wins yesterday. They swept Fort Hays Tech Northwest 18-2, as well as 8-0 in a game where Caitlin Zukwich and Amaya Alexander Sims, pitchers for Colby, threw a combined no-hitter. I'm tasting ice cream right now. You know who you are if you're listening. I'm tasting ice cream on that. Today, Colby Community College baseball, hoping into 5-game skid. They host Seward County at Young Memorial Field, and Colby tennis on the road at Scott City for an invite today, I believe. So there you go. Local sports. And of course, don't forget Royals and Rockies. Early starts today, 12:10. Let's see, it's 1:10 Central, 1:10 Mountain Time. First pitch times for the Royals and the Rockies on AM 790 KXXX or AM 730 KLOE. Thanks to Michael Bruntz, and thanks to you for listening and chiming in on the Epi Bank text line. We're back again tomorrow in 23 hours. Hope you join us then for a Friday. A Friday edition of the Morning Blitz. We'll see you.
Rocket 102.5 is KKCI.